Hello, my name's Gemma. I'm a nutritionist and mindset coach, and I'm here today to talk about endometriosis. I'm not just here to give you advice and be like, eat this, don't eat this. I'm here to give you my own personal experience with it. So, what I have found that has worked and what hasn't, and how much research I've done in this area as being a nutritionist. So, to give you some context, I have always struggled with painful periods. It started about when I was around 15 years of age, around that. I had only probably had my period for about a year or two, maybe just over a year. And we were actually going on a family trip. We were going on a holiday. Now, prior to this holiday, I had not had a period for 5 months. I didn't know why. I had moved schools and I had moved states. So when I think back on it now and from a nutritionist point of view, I would say it had to do with stress because it was a new, huge transition, huge move, huge, like everything was new. So I would say it was probably stress. In saying that, I'm like thinking now when I moved, I would have been like year 11. So I definitely think maybe I was 15, 16. Anyway, I get confused with the timeline. So yes, we were going on this family holiday and I had just seen the doctor before we left because I told the doctor I haven't had a period for 5 months. And boy, did the doctor give me the third degree. Like she made my mum go out of the room and she asked me, could you be pregnant? Now, I had not had sex at all. I was a virgin. So I said to her, I literally said, unless I'm carrying baby Jesus, there is no way that I am pregnant. Still, you got like I get it. A lot of people would lie about this. So she made me get a blood test to double check, as well as testing other things. So I know we definitely did test other things, but I was so young at the time I could not even tell you what we tested. I'm just going to fix this up so you can see me. So yeah, I couldn't even tell you what we tested. But anyway, we got back the results. Everything seemed fine. So what'd she do? She put me on the pill. And at the time I was young. I was probably like excited to go on the pill if I'm being honest. It made me feel more of a grown up. I was like, cool, put me on the pill. Not that I'm sexually active or anything, but I don't know, just made me feel older. So I was happy to go on it. Went on the pill and then we went on this family trip. This family trip was a road trip. We stayed at a hotel before we reached the destination. And at that hotel, my period came. Now, this was the first period I had since being on this pill. And boy, was I in for a shock. It was excruciating. It was so painful. And I was so young at the time. I didn't know what was going on. I was actually so scared out of my mind going, what is happening? What could this be? I literally thought something was inside me creating the pain because I was like, this can't be just from my period. Like I didn't understand. Luckily I had my mum who has had experience with this. Like she had very bad, severe pain with endometriosis as well. So she kind of knew what I was going through, but at the same time, she was also a little bit freaked out because like I was literally like the exorcist. I was screaming all over the place. Like I feel like my eyes were probably rolling to the back of my head. We hopped in the car and we went on our way to the hospital. I was in so much pain that I was like grabbing the door handle of the car. My mum was freaking out thinking I was going to open up the car door and just like hop out of a moving car. But I was just in that much pain. I think what was going on in my head at the time was get me out, I'm going to vomit. Like, I think that's what was going on. As I said, this was a long time ago, but I can still picture the pain like to this day. It was a very traumatic experience. So when we finally reached the hospital, mind you, we did go the wrong way to the hospital and then we had to do a big U-turn and go back. Because we're out in the middle of nowhere, like we were on our way to a holiday. It was an area we were unfamiliar with. So I was going to a random hospital, went to the hospital, and as soon as I got out of the car, I vomited and I I was feeling so sick, so unwell. We got to the wait room. They told us to wait, like won't be long. We waited for a bit, and then all of a sudden the pain just subsided. The pain just stopped. And my mum was like happy for me, but she was also like, we just got to the hospital. We are about to see the doctor. Can you just like pretend you're a little sick now? Because now what are we going to tell them? We're here, you're fine. Like now we can't, you know. And the thing with women and painful periods is it's very hard to explain to anyone that doesn't experience this, but also to men. And I had a male doctor and they were like, what's wrong? And I was like, well, I was having really bad pains. Now they've subsided. I don't know what to tell you. Now, before this happened, like because I was still waiting for the doctor, I was waiting in the waiting room and I was like lying down. I did go to the toilet. Now, TMI, just warning you, if you can't handle talking about things about blood and stuff, this isn't the video for you. You probably want to shut it down. So I'll let you do that. But if you're still here, then it's not my fault. So I went to the bathroom and all of this blood just like gushed out of me. It was big clots, like it was so bad. And I was in shock. And then I came back and then that's when the pain stopped. And I said to mum, like, it was all like in the toilet, like, and now my pain stopped. So what has it got to do with my period? And then mum was like, yeah. And she's like, but now the doctor's not going to believe you. And I was like, what do you mean? And I was so innocent and so didn't get it at the time. But yeah, the doctor was kind of like, well, you're fine now, so be on your way. And then we enjoyed our holiday. So they sent the referral back to my doctor back at home. I went back home, went and saw them again. And they said, look, it's probably just a side effect from the pill. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you onto a different pill. So I just was on a different brand pill. Now that like bewilds me. Every time I think about it, I'm always like, that's not right. A 16-year-old girl who hasn't had her period for 5 months goes on the pill and all of a sudden has a period. I know it's not a real period. I know it's a withdrawal bleed, but has this excruciating painful period and the doctor thinks it's just the type of brand, we'll just switch. That is not right. And I just want to say this, if anyone's listening to this and they do experience painful periods, you have every right to inform your doctor. And if your doctor doesn't listen, find another doctor, because painful periods are not normal. If you are even just having pain where you just have to take Nurofen, you might have to lie down for a bit, that is not normal either. And unfortunately, like with endometriosis, it doesn't matter how painful yours is. Like you could have less pain but have more endo within. So the pain doesn't tell you how much you have. It's just about how it's placed, the endo, how it's placed within your body, like whether it's near your bowels, so it might hurt when you go to the toilet, or whether it's on your bladder, or whether it's on your uterine lining. All of that plays a part as to how painful it's going to be for you. So if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, but I didn't go to a hospital, so mine can't be that bad, please still just go see your doctor. And once again, if you're getting that vibe, like I feel like you get the vibe. If you're getting that vibe from your doctor that you feel like they're not trusting you, they're not listening to you, find another doctor. Because that same thing happened with me. It was just like the doctor was like, well, it's the brand of pill. So anyway, I was on the pill for most of my 20s, and look, I had pain on and off still while on the pill. It wasn't as bad. I never had to go to hospital. And my mum had endometriosis before me. She was diagnosed through actually getting her tubes tightened. That's how she found out. And they were like to her, wow, you had so much, like, how did you deal with the pain? And she was like, I just thought that was normal. I thought that's what every woman felt. And they're like, no, that's not normal. But women don't talk about this. More and more we are starting to, but I think it's more like women are only talking about it when they're diagnosed, whereas we're not talking about the symptoms and the signs that you're feeling. And throughout my whole 20s, I felt pain, but I always felt like it wasn't painful enough. I was like, well, I probably don't have it because I'm not in the hospital, lying in bed, fainting. So I always thought it wasn't painful enough. Mind you, when I got off the pill before my first child, I've got 2 kids before my first child, I did start to feel more pain again. The Band-Aid came off, you know, taking the pill away, then that uncovers everything that was there before. And I did go and see a gynecologist, and the gynecologist told me to get a ultrasound. I got the ultrasound. They couldn't see anything. And they did tell me on the ultrasound, like, just because we can't see anything doesn't mean you don't have it and doesn't mean your pain isn't valid. Like, they were very nice, I remember. But still, at that time when I got the ultrasound and there wasn't anything there, I felt really deflated because I was like, oh my gosh, I probably don't have it. Like, and I know they said it might not turn up. So I completely feel for any women out there that are like, have ever had the ultrasound done and they're like, but there's nothing there, so maybe I don't. I'm like literally getting teary about it now because it just makes you feel like what you're feeling, you're going crazy. And maybe you don't have as high of a pain threshold. So many people said that, like, I hate when women talk about their pain threshold, you know, like, I just have a really high pain threshold. You know how many times I heard that? Like, when I was about to give birth and women were like, yeah, but I went drug free. I went drug free. It was really amazing, but I have a really high pain threshold. Like, I think we just, as women, we have to remember that what you choose to do, going drug free, like, that's great. But like, there are other women who have other things going on and wanted to maybe take, you know, an epidural or whatever when having kids, and that doesn't mean they're any less of. And I just want to like put that in there because that's what I heard a lot of when I was pregnant with both my kids. It was like, you were seen as you were more superior than other women who gave birth and had a wonderful miracle baby, but you were more superior because you went drug free. I actually would see, like, when women would have their babies, they would like post their name, how much they weighed, and then it would be at the end, and I only had the gas, or I went drug free, and I only had a water birth. And I think it's amazing to share your experience. Like, I love when women share their birthing experiences, but I don't want to harp on so much about how you did it. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but it relates to the endo because it's the same thing. It's like women who might have had endometriosis and they're like, oh, but mine were never painful. Once again, it depends on where yours is situated. That's why you might not be experiencing pain. And for me, I was so young in my 20s that I was just like, well, my mum had endo her whole life. So, and my mum put up with the pain. So even if I have it, I should be able to just put up with the pain. Like, otherwise I'm not as strong, and that's embarrassing, you know? And it just made me feel like I was weak if I went to the doctors. Saying this out loud and probably hearing this, you're probably like, that's crazy. But I know there's going to be other women out there that feel the same, because I know I've spoken to them. I've spoken to women as well who have pains during ovulation, and they've gone to their doctor and their doctor has said, you're fine. It's nothing. It's literally, unless you're like needing to go to the hospital, your pain is fine. But there is something going on. If you are still having pain while you're in ovulation, you have to take medication for it. There's something going on, and you deserve to look and do the investigation yourself and find the root cause of that. I just wish I could have told my 20-year-old self that, because it was crazy. Like, when I came off the pill, I went and saw the gynecologist. The gynecologist said, it didn't show up in the scans, but we can do the keyhole surgery to actually diagnose you. Straight away, instant. Like, I'm a mindset coach, right? So now I understand what my mind was going through at the time. But straight away, my instant thought was, what if I get the surgery and what if there's nothing? What if they do it and I have nothing, and then I'm just a big fat baby about crying over some period cramps? And I literally couldn't bear it. I was like, I was going to go along with the surgery. I was so close to doing it, But then I got pregnant, and I think that's because subconsciously, I don't reckon I would have wanted to do it, because I think subconsciously I would have like freaked out, so worried that they would find nothing, and then I would look. I guess I would feel like I would be humiliated, because I'd be like, "There's nothing wrong with me. It's all in my head. I have a low pain threshold, etc." So anyway, then I had 2 kids. So no pain. When you're pregnant, you don't have a period. So you don't have any more pain. When you're breastfeeding, you typically don't have a period. So I wasn't having any pain. So for a good chunk there, I was feeling awesome. I was like, maybe I didn't have endo. You know what I mean? Like, I knew that though, that you don't have the pain when you give birth and have babies and stuff. But it's like, if any woman out there has had a baby and they've gone through labor, like, you'll understand what I mean when it's like, when you go through that labor pain, you think it's so horrible at the time, but then like later on you're like, I could do that again. Like, it really wasn't that bad. That's the same with like the period pain, because I get it for like just this little bit in the morning or little bit whenever it is, and it lasts maybe an hour. I think the longest it's ever lasted was about 2 hours. That's the longest I've ever had it last for me. And I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't that bad. That's what I always think. Like, after, I'm like, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I was just in a mood, you know? Maybe I was upset. Maybe I was tired. Maybe that's what it was. And you just start to second guess yourself. So as I said, I had kids. I didn't feel it anymore. Then after my last baby, he is now 2. He's about to turn 3 in November. I have been off the pill ever since him. I stopped breastfeeding him around 4 months. And so eventually my period came back. I think I've then had a period and been off the pill for almost probably 2 years now. And each period I was having, all of a sudden I was feeling that pain again, and it was getting worse. It was getting worse and worse each period. And I was like, oh no, like, I better get this looked at again. So I went to the doctors. This is now probably 7 or 8 years later since my last ultrasound on it. And my doctor advised me to get the ultrasound. I went and got the ultrasound, and they actually, in the ultrasound, they actually picked it up and they saw it straight away. And they said, oh my God, it's like, it was so funny. Like, I don't know if this would scare anyone else, but for me, I was so happy. Like, I'm like gonna cry happy tears. I feel like I'm starting to tear up right now. But when they saw it and they said, oh my God, that's all of that, they were showing me, they're like, that's all your endo. They're like, and it's all near my bowels. I think it's my left ovary is kind of tethered to my bowels now, and the inflammation is like so bad there that's why I was having so much pain. And I left that appointment in tears, because it just validated, after all this time, it just validated like those 10, 15 years of how I was feeling. Like, thank God, you know, like, I have been driving myself crazy for so long. I remember talking to people, and I've told people, yes, but I have endometriosis. And then they'd say, oh, were you diagnosed? And I'd be like, well, no, technically they didn't see anything. So maybe I don't, but I don't like, and I just did this backstory, like, and I'd feel so embarrassed being like, here I am saying that I have it and I don't. And so it was just nice within that ultrasound appointment, even though now I need to get my shit together because I definitely have it. It was just nice to have it validated. I ended up just bursting into tears in the car and being like, since that first time when I went to hospital when I was like 16, since then, I have finally validated what's been going on. Like, I can finally say, like, that wasn't because of the period, the pill brand. That wasn't because I hadn't had my period for 5 months and it was just because of stress. Like, that was probably the beginning of the endo. And unfortunately, we didn't know enough back then. Thankfully, they've put so much more research into it nowadays. However, they've just started that. So there's still so much more to learn. Like, we typically don't know why it tends to keep coming back. But yeah, that was me officially being diagnosed. The whole ultrasound appointment, I think, went for about like an hour. They got like a doctor to come in, and the doctor like verified it, showed me and told me. And I'm just so grateful for that they did that, because I know in a lot of ultrasound appointments, they'll be like, you have to go see your doctor to get your results. But it was just really good to be told then. So then I was like, okay, I finally have been diagnosed, and I don't know why I just needed a diagnosis. Like, if anyone is out there and they're feeling these same feelings, like, why do we worry so much about, you know what it is? It's about worrying, technically, deep down, it's about worrying about what other people thought of me, whether other people thought I wasn't strong enough. But who cares what other people think? You know, like, as long as my health's in check, if I did at that 25 years of age, go and get checked, and they said, like, I got the surgery done, and they said, no, you don't have endo, it's all clear. Well, then at least I would be like, okay, that's one thing ticked off. Now let's figure out why I've got inflammation or this pain then, because there's something else. Like, and I would have felt more confident. But the thing that I lacked at that age is I lacked confidence in myself, and I was so worried about what others would think about me. So please, like, if you're going through this, I just reach out to me. Like, I won't try and sell you anything or do anything. I just am like, want to be here as a sounding board, because if you're feeling alone and you're feeling like you're going crazy in this, I completely get it. And I know firsthand experience what that feels like, and your feelings are valid, and I will make sure that you feel that way. So anyway, that part of the rant over. Now we know that I'm diagnosed. So then I went back and saw my doctor, and I knew what she was going to say, because I know how it goes. I know when you have endo, they want you to go back on the pill, because then it stops you menstruating, it stops you shedding that lining, and that's going to then stop the inflammation buildup. So, however, I went back, and the doctor told me if I don't go back on the pill, my pain will get worse and worse. So each period it's going to get worse. And it was like, from the start of the year, it was painful. But then I got to just before my appointment, and I was literally always like, I was in bed. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't move. I couldn't get the kids ready for school. I was laying on the ground. I was almost about to vomit, like at the toilet bowl. I felt faint. I felt dizzy. I thought we're going to have to go to hospital, but I didn't know how to get myself there, because I was the only adult home at the time. So it was very scary. And I knew that they would want me to go back on the pill, but I didn't know it's because the more periods you had, the more of a buildup you would have. So she did advise me to go see a gynecologist, which I am. I actually am going to see one today, so I'll update you on that in the next video. But she advised me to go see a gynecologist, and then she advised me to go on the pill. And I said, do I have to take the pill? And she said, no, it's your choice at the end. It's just takes away that inflammation. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do my own research. I held on to the script because, you know, just in case, I don't know, I obviously still don't fully trust myself, but I was like, I'm a nutritionist and this is what I do. And I know there's something deeper, and they don't know, no one knows a lot about this. So, and I know people are fixing this through other things, like through their diet and stuff. So I went to PubMed, I looked up some peer-reviewed journals, and I found one that was actually published end of 2023. I think it was October, November it was published. And it was about the diversity of your gut bacteria. And they were saying that the less diverse your gut bacteria is, the more likely you are to develop endometriosis or have some sort of inflammation. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to now test my gut microbes. So I got a gut microbe test, like the at-home kit. I sent it off, got it tested, came back, and it was like, it wasn't bad, but it was sitting like, if we're going like in the percentages. It was sitting around like maybe a 60%. And I was like, I want to get this higher, because if there's inflammation from the endometriosis, and then there's inflammation from my gut because my gut diverse bacteria isn't diverse enough, then that's a double whammy of inflammation, right? So I was like, I'm going to optimize my gut as much as possible so that I can reduce the amount of inflammation that's inside, so then it's going to hurt less when I have my period. That's just my frame of thought. I also was reading books on mindset and how you can manipulate your mind into thinking like how painful it really is and stuff. So I was doing meditations as well. And I took everything into my own hands. I started off doing that autoimmune protocol diet. There is like, I know there's a few like people that do this online and stuff, and they show that like how they're going in their results. The thing that it is, it's so restrictive. So you like literally don't have anything at the start. Like you literally are just having, you don't have dairy, you don't have gluten, you don't have breads, you don't have pastas, nothing like that. You can't even have certain beans, you can't have certain vegetables, like you can't have tomatoes or like nightshade vegetables. You can't, like it's very particular. You can't have some nuts, like you can't have cocoa or anything like that. It's so strict. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this, because you only have to do it for like 3 to 6 weeks. And I was like, I think 6 weeks is better, but you can do it for 3. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And then what happens is you slowly introduce the foods to see if you're like intolerant to it or not, or if you have a reaction. And I got through the first week and I was like, this is insane. Like, I'm a mother of 2. We lead busy lives here. Like, my husband's busy, I'm busy. I was like, this is so hard. And I thought, if I can do this, then I can help my clients get through this. And I was like, how am I going to teach my clients this if I can barely do it? Like, it's so hard. And I feel like you need a particular lifestyle if you're going to do it. Like, if you're on your own, I mean, anyone can do anything. If I really wanted to, I could, I guess. But if it's so much easier, I guess, if you're on your own, no kids, and you just have to focus on you to maybe implement that lifestyle. But it was really hard when you're busy and you've got kids and you've got your husband and a family, and like you're like, it was just too hard. And I thought, there's got to be a better way. Now, I forgot I'm also a fasting coach. So I have learned through my mentor, Dr. Mindy Pelz, and I absolutely love her teachings. I highly recommend, if anyone, look her up. She teaches how to fast properly to your menstrual cycle, and it's changed my life, and I'll tell you why. But she explains the different types of fasts that you can do, the different length fasts. One of them is a 24-hour gut reset fast, and I had heard of it before, but I literally just like completely out of my mind. I completely forgot that you can do this. And what a 24-hour gut reset fast is doing is, when you haven't had food for 24 hours, your gut then starts to produce stem cells into the gut, and these stem cells repair the lining. And so that's going to help if you've got any issues like leaky gut syndrome, any inflammation in the gut. It's going to give those stem cells into the gut, repair the lining, and you're going to feel so much better. And if you do have period pains, but maybe you don't have endometriosis, maybe you just have bad PMS, then leaning into these are going to help so much repair that gut lining so that you don't have such painful periods. So I thought, I could just do this. I don't have to do 6 weeks of the AIP diet. I could literally lean into a 24-hour fast, and it's pretty much doing the same thing. So I leaned into a 24-hour fast. I did one the first month, and then I didn't have a painful period. The second month I did 2. I didn't have a painful period. And then the third month I did 2 again in the 1 month, and I didn't have a painful period. And so the last 3 periods I have had not been painful. They have been crampy, yes. So TMI, once again, if you're not don't want to hear too much information, but because my endometriosis is near my bowels, when I go to the toilet, that's when it hurts the most. So those last 3 periods that I have, when I've gone to the toilet, it's been crampy. It's been like, ooh, like that's sore. And then once I'm done, I'm like, okay, that was it. You know what I mean? Like that's the sort of pain I'm feeling now. Whereas before I was literally fainting, sweating on the floor. Like I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was going to die. Like, so completely different pain. And it just, the only thing I've changed is I've leaned into more of those 24-hour fasts. And then I've changed the way I break my fast. It's all about how you break it. So when you haven't had food for a while, you don't want to just jump back into whatever. So I broke it by including some probiotics into my gut. So I added like live bacteria that's in like fermented foods and stuff. So like yogurts, kimchi, sauerkraut, all that kind of stuff. And then I leaned into prebiotics because the prebiotics are the food for the probiotics. So they help it grow. They're going to help your guts garden, is like what I like to call it, grow and feel amazing. And then I added polyphenols. And polyphenols, they're natural compounds from like plants. So they help repair plants' microbiome. And they're doing the same thing to our gut. The polyphenols help repair the lining. Now you can find those in anything from like, that's been from like a natural plant grown. So lots of leafy greens and stuff. And that's the foods that I've been breaking it with. Have I gone dairy free? No. I do probably eat less dairy just because I'm focused more on a whole foods diet. So maybe I eat a little bit less, but I still have cheese. Like I still do. I love my feta. I love halloumi from time to time. Even just mozzarella, like I have that. So technically I haven't restricted that. Have I gone gluten-free? No, I haven't gone gluten-free. However, once again, I am focused more on a whole foods diet. So typically the amount of gluten I have is less. So you could say it's a bit of that too. But it doesn't, the point I'm making is it doesn't feel restrictive. So if you're looking for something and you're like, what can I try? I just feel like not enough people, like this is very new, this fasting lifestyle to a menstrual cycle. So there is certain ways that you should do it, and I will explain in like other videos coming up, but this works. I promise you this works. No painful periods for the last 3 months. Like that is incredible. That is incredible. It's life-changing for me. Like I don't know about anyone else listening, but it's life-changing for me. And it's all to do with just letting my body heal itself again, believing and trusting in my body that it can do it, that it doesn't need me adding things in or creating some crazy restrictive diet for 6 months. I just leaned into a 20 to 24 hour gut reset fast, and my gut, I obviously must have had inflammation in my gut for me to have so much more pain. So I don't know how it's affected the actual endo per se. Like I don't know if there's going to be less there or if it's still the same. I don't actually know, and I won't know until I get a scan and see my gynecologist. But I am seeing my gynecologist today, so I will keep you all updated with how it's all going. But I just wanted to get this information out because I feel like so many women are suffering out there, not knowing what to do, and I want to help you because that was me. I was in that same position, and it sucks. It's so shit. So sorry about the swearing, but it's so shit. Okay, that's all I have for today. This was a bit of a long video, but it just gives you a bit of a backstory and why I'm so passionate about this. And I'll see you all in the next video if you want to stick around and see the next part. But otherwise, if you got to the end of this, thank you for watching. And if you know of anyone that has endometriosis or you have it yourself, please take care of each other. It is such a shit disease. It's so crappy. Anyway, I'll leave you with that, with a little bit of hope though, because things are working for me, which means they can work for you too. And us women, we just got to stick together and help each other out. That's what I truly, truly believe. So anyway, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.